Okay, so time for these boys to get into action, because we're about to measure these pistons, these piston rings as well, and also the piston rings grooves. And we're gonna use these measuring tools to determine if we need new pistons or new piston rings. So check your service manual for the specific service limits and compare them with your actual readings. So therefore, you know whether you need to order something or not. As well, we're gonna measure the outer diameter of the piston pin. Okay, so very good news. We've measured all the gaps, all the piston rings width, grooves, piston widths, everything. And to be honest, surprisingly, all measures are in service limits. So no need to change anything. We're good to put this back together, but first we need to order 2 clips for the piston pins, because you know the story that one felt in the engine, and then therefore we had that scratch on the cylinder wall. So yeah, we'll order that clip. We'll order also a carburetor repair kit, and then we'll continue this job. I'm super eager to move on with this project. Bam! Okay, so today is about getting these shiny pistons back in their position on the connecting rods, but of course we'll start with putting back the piston rings. Take your time and take a look at this picture so you know how to exactly position the rings on the piston, because it's quite critical to position the opening of the piston rings on the opposite side all the time. But yeah, that's too much of an explanation. Let's get already started. Okay, so put a thin layer of oil on each piston ring before you start putting them back together. And you want to start, or I want to start with this oil piston ring, or spacer, how it's called in the service manual. So with this one. And then I'll put the bottom spacer, the bottom side rail and the top side rail. And then I will continue with the second piston ring and then with the top one. So as you can see, the top one, it's shinier than the second piston ring. So this is a little bit grayish. That's how you know which is which. But of course, we actually put them exactly like this on the table, and we let them like this until today when we are putting them back together. So we know how we actually let these piston rings in place. So oil, and let's put them in the right order. So I do have my scheme down here. I do have my inspiration, because I cannot remember all the directions and the piston rings names and so on. So feel free to use documentation and don't rush. Okay, so this arrow points to the front of the engine, so towards the exhaust. And you want to put this spacer from the oil ring facing with the split facing the exhaust. The bottom side rail, I will put it 45 degrees to the left. Now the second side rail on the top with 45 degrees on the right, if you look from the above. We've done with the oil ring, and we can go ahead with the second one, and this one will be facing 45 degrees towards this way. So from the bottom, from the intake side, 45 degrees to the left. And take it easy with the piston rings. You really don't want to destroy them or rip them apart. And by the way, this has a small T on it. There's like a small T there. The marked side will come on the top. Okay, the top one has as well a T mark here, and that needs to come on top. Remember, these piston rings have special profiles. Therefore, you need to bring this mark facing on the top. And now this one, we will put it 45 degrees, obviously on the opposite way to its second brother. Okay, one done. So one final check. We've got this one here, this top spacer side here, this oil middle spacer here, and then you got the bottom side rail here. That should be it. Do the same on all 4 pistons, and then we will connect them on the push rods. Right, so we've ordered new circlips for the pistons, for the piston bolts. So we are ready now to change all the circlips from one side, from the pistons, mount them, and then put the pistons on the rods, and then put the other circlips on the other side to secure the bolt holding the piston on the rod. So let's do that. Just to put this in here and put your finger here not to lose these circlips in your workshop. One. Put the new one in. Maybe it will get like this, or use some pliers and just easily guide it in. Okay, make sure it sits in the groove as it sits now. Okay, we'll take these rags, these protective rags away, because what we want to do is now bring up these middle rods, because I want to start with the second and the third piston when mounting things back. We'll take this cover off because we need to move the crankshaft, so we'll need to take this cover off for that. So moving this bolt, we will turn the crankshaft and bring the rods in the position that we want. And anyways, when doing the timing, we need to have access here. So as I said, I will want to bring up these 2 rods so that we can work on those firstly. Yep, there we go. There we go. Always keep the chain with your hands so it doesn't get stuck below in the engine. You don't want that. I've been through some experiences. Okay, so putting the piston back. So we have the circlip mounted here in this side. Here we obviously don't have the circlip, so we can insert the bolt, but not before checking again that your gaps are in the correct position from the piston rings, and we are absolutely correct. Yes, yes, perfect. I'll just set this a little bit here and then take a little bit of oil on my finger and put it on the bolt just to have a smooth entrance. Okay, now we take the piston, push the rod a little bit. Okay, and then come with the bolt from this side. Maybe it's a good idea to just put it a little bit in already. Before, yep, just like that. The bolt is all the way in. Now we will take a rag and cover this hole and this one because we want to put the circlip and we don't want it to get lost inside the engine. So let's put a rag back here, take the circlip and put it here. Nice and easy, right? Take the circlip, just put it in there, one-sided. Just like that. And then make sure, yes, when you hear that tick, means that it got inside. So all covered for the second piston. I will continue with the third one, obviously, because we have the rod up, and then move to the first and the fourth one. Now that we have piston 2 and 3 in place, I would like to have rods 1 and 4 up. This can get stuck here, okay. The other one, okay, perfect. That's the way. A little bit more. Make sure it doesn't get stuck. So all good, and we are good upwards. Perfect. We've got all our pistons, new circlips back in. Now it's time for the cylinder block. To be honest, I don't have piston ring press, so I think I might need my extra pair of hands, which is our beloved camera woman. Otherwise, I think it would be pretty interesting to put the cylinder block all by yourself. So make sure you have 4 hands for this procedure because I'm 100% sure we will need those. We'll obviously clean really good the cylinder block before putting it back. We'll never skip this step. think it looks a little bit better than before. Ini. Before we attempt to put the cylinders on the pistons, we need to make sure that these O-rings here are seated correctly. And in this case, and in this case, and also in this case, you can see that they're not. If you take a closer look here, we will take a flathead screwdriver and press that O-ring. Put a little bit of WD-40 just to have that O-ring softer and that the screwdriver don't scratches it. Help it a little bit here and there where it's not properly seated. These were changed already, as I can see, but they weren't fitted properly. Yeah, there you go. And then here, all the way until you get a nicely seated O-ring. You can actually hear when the screwdriver hits the block. That means the O-ring is well seated. Okay, after we made sure that all the O-rings are well seated, you want to get rid of all WD-40 excess. We don't want this to start boiling in our engine. Okay, so we'll take some fresh engine oil and put on these cylinder walls. Take all the nuts and washers and put them aside in the order that you are taking them off. Make sure you also have a new gasket. This is new, but it was mounted, I don't know, this is how the motorcycle came in. And also that you have these O-rings in this side and you have another one in the opposite side. So make sure you have this before you start putting that cylinder block on. No! Why? Let's put a little bit of oil on the pistons as well, because we want them to slide easily in their position in the cylinder block. Absolutely brilliant. So we managed, but as I said, the extra pair of hands was definitely needed. Otherwise, we couldn't put the pistons back. So what we did, we pressed in these pistons. So we let these two pistons all the way up, but still kept those pistons downwards as much as it was needed to press the piston rings inside the cylinder. But the way that the cylinder is constructed helps to actually press back the cylinder block on the piston because it's like a cone. Now press everything back and make sure that you still have that O-ring in place and the dowel pins are stepping where they need to step. O-ring is still there, dowel pin, it's in. Okay, now we should be just fine. Yes, that tack. And as you can see, we have the two pistons up and 3 and 4, they're a little bit lower. Okay, so this would be all for today. We need to get back home because it's 9 p.m. and we'll continue tomorrow with cylinder head and all those timing procedures. But first we'll change the valve stem seals, clean the valves because they have a little bit of rust on them. And then we'll proceed by rebuilding that cylinder head and then put it on top of these cylinders. Woohoo! Nice.